Hello y'all, what's up? My name is Elizabeth. So today's video title was Remembering and Returning to God. Now, a couple of videos ago, I did a video called Let's Talk About Remembering. And that video was based upon this message here. I had to do a sermon preparation for one of my classes, and that whole idea was starting to form for the message that I had to write here. And so now that I finished that whole part for my class, I wanted to present it because we didn't really get to do that for my class. It was just about preparing it. But now we got to be finished. So here's the finished product of this. So let's get started. Okay, so today I want to talk about what does it look like to remember God? What does it look like to remember and to return back to Him? See, in today's passage, we'll be looking at one of Moses' last messages to the children of Israel before he gave the mantle, the leadership to Joshua. This passage is found in Deuteronomy 30:1-10. Moses' message to the Israelites, in summary, is that they need to remember God and then to return back to Him. And what does that look like? What does it look like to return back to God? As believers, we need to remember God and to return back to Him, just like the children of Israel needed to return back to God. And so first, let me just read this whole passage, 10 verses long, and then we'll dive deeper down into it, okay? So Deuteronomy 30:1-10. And when all these things come upon you, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before you, and you call them to mind, so remembering, among all the nations where the Lord your God has driven you, and return to the Lord your God, and you and your children, and obey His voice in all that I command you today, with all your heart, with all your soul. Then the Lord your God will restore your fortune and have mercy on you, and He will gather you again from all the peoples where the Lord your God has scattered you. If your outcasts are in the utmost parts of heaven, from there the Lord your God will gather you, and from there He will take you. And the Lord your God will bring you into the land that your fathers possessed, that you may possess it. And He will make you more prosperous and numerous than your fathers. And the Lord your God will circumcise your heart and the heart of your offspring, so that you will love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, that you may live. And the Lord your God will put all these curses on your foes and enemies who persecute you, and you shall again obey the voice of the Lord and keep all His commandments that I command you today. The Lord your God will make you abundantly prosperous in the land, in all your work of your hand, in the fruit of your womb, in the fruit of your cattle, in the fruit of your ground. For the Lord will again take delight in prospering you, as He took delight in your fathers. When you obey the voice of the Lord your God to keep His commandments and His statutes that are written in the book of the law, when you return to the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. Okay. So we read the whole passage. What does this mean? Okay, so in the first part of the passage, in Deuteronomy 31-10, we see that we first must remember God. So us remembering God. But what does it take us to get there? What kind of circumstances in our lives does it take us to finally remember God? What kind of hardships do we have to go through? Is it losing a job? Is it this COVID-19 thing that's going on? That we're finally like, okay, God, where are you? What's going on here? You know? See, I think a lot of times we forget God in the good times and we cry out to Him in the hard times. Now, some of us are can be really stubborn, and sometimes I am too. Even in the hard times, we don't cry out to him. But a lot of times it takes the hard times for us to cry out to him. But see, crying out to him isn't enough. We have to do something about it. Yes, we cry out to him, but there has to be a change of heart. Just because a child says, "Dad, please help me, get this thing done or fixed," it could be fixed, but the child's heart still hasn't changed. It might still be stubborn. It might still be prideful. It hasn't changed. It just got what it wanted. So that's the first thing. We first have to remember God. Sometimes in our lives, when hard things do come and do arise, our first response is not God, but rather trying to fix it. And God ends up being the last resource when he should be the first. Now, going on, later on, let's look at Deuteronomy 3:6. I'm actually going to reread that because I think this is really important. "And the Lord your God will circumcise your heart." Okay, so let's just stop right there. What is circumcise? What does that even mean? Well, circumcision, secondly, is the foreskin of the man's part. But in this case, it means cleaning out. I actually had to do a word study on this. But it means cleaning out the unnecessary parts, the dirty parts. See, God circumcises our hearts so that we can be completely loyal and devoted to him. But how does that happen? Well, we first must give everything we have to him. In Luke 9:23, it says, "If any man wants to follow me, he must deny himself, pick up his cross daily, and follow me." You have to give everything to God. So, for God restoring us, we first have to give our entire hearts to him. That way, he can cleanse it out. So that our loyalty, our passion is completely devoted to him. So first, okay, so let's go back to the beginning. So first, it's us remembering God, okay? And then, when we remember, we give God everything, then God is able to restore us by cleansing our hearts, by circumcising our hearts. That way, our whole desire is for him. Now, the last part is God blessing us. But I think this is an interesting part because blessings don't always look like blessings, which can be a completely whole subject. But I'm going to just quickly cover it. Just because we think this looks like a blessing, may be a blessing. But sometimes not getting what we consider blessing is a blessing. That might sound really strange to you, right? The best way I can think of the way to explain this is fitness. See, sometimes people are so focused on losing weight, and when the scale doesn't match their weight, the scale says a higher weight, so then they're disappointed. But actually, sometimes that can be a blessing. And I'm saying, how can that be a blessing? Well, if you research this, sometimes even though that person hasn't lost weight, or maybe even gained weight, that person has gained muscle. So the body fat ratio went down, but the number on the scale didn't go down. So without them knowing it, by just looking at the scale, they say, "Oh, that didn't work. Oh, that's a negative thing." And so sometimes that's with us. We see, "Oh, that event is a negative thing," when really it's a blessing. that we just don't see, that we just don't realize or understand at that moment. But how in another way does God bless us? Well, if we read in Deuteronomy 3-5 and 8-10, we learn that God is blessing them to be prosperous in the land that He has given them to dwell in. Well, we're not exactly like the Israelites where we have a Pacific land to dwell in, but God has put us in a Pacific spot. And He has called us to be prosperous. Not prosperous, maybe like He called Israelites to be prosperous with the field and the grain, but for us, it's the kingdom of God. It's spreading the message out. So for us, when it comes to God blessing us, God allowing us to be prosperous, it's a spiritual prosperity. And it may not be in the way that we see it. It may not even happen in our lifetime. But God's kingdom is still moving forward, even if we don't see it moving forward. So, let's go over the 3 things I think 3 to 4 things that happen. First, we remember God. Okay? So so it's us remembering God. Whenever that is, the good times, the hard times, the in-between times. Us giving God our hearts. Then once we do that, God restores us for us to be completely loyal and devoted to Him. And because of that, we have the passion to be prosperous. We are able to see God's blessing. We're able to see His kingdom further. So, how does this apply to you? What's the takeaway, right? Because we always need a takeaway, right? I believe the takeaway is this. That whatever circumstances we are in, we need to remember God. And God has called us to a certain place, just like He called Israel to a certain place. They're about to enter the promised land. What are we entering? What season are we entering? And how can we take that season and be prosperous with it? How is God blessing us in that season, in the land that He has called us to dwell in, to work in, to tend in? So, in summary, what situation in your life right now is calling you back to God? And how will you respond to that calling? Will you embrace it or will you flee from it? Whatever season you're in right now, how will you use that season? Will you cultivate that land or will you just neglect it? Because see, the Israelites had to do the work to have the blessing. It wasn't just like, oh, they did nothing and God just completely blessed them. It was through their work that God blessed them. So what work in our lives that God is blessing, whether that's through ministry, through serving someone else, what does that look like for you? Okay, y'all, so I hope you all enjoyed that video. That was actually a one-take video. There was no chopping or anything like that except for some of the extra effects, but I did that straight through. That was my first time, so please be gracious about it. I didn't really have anything in mind of how I was going to present it as much. there will be 2 more like these, and hopefully you'll see a progression of how I've gotten better at actually giving a message here. But yeah, I guess one reason why I really wanted to post it, even though I felt like I wasn't really ready for it, is that I needed to see the progression. I need practice, number one, and I think I wanted to see the progression, to have something that's recorded down for me to go, oh wow, that was my first time, and like, oh, that's really horrible, to where I am in the future. And I wanted to share that journey along with you all. So again, as always, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any question, you can comment that down below. We got some more fun coming up as the holiday season gets closer. We have a behind the palm going on. We're going to have some Christmas fun in December, New Year's. I got some college vlogging coming soon. So I hope you stay tuned. It's not all serious, all about message and preaching. Trust me, we have a lot more fun on this channel. As always, I have a poetry website. Please subscribe to my channel. Click that like button if you like it. And hope I see you next time. God bless you. Bye.